Hello students, today we're looking at sketching linear graphs using x and y intercepts. So remember they're the points at which a graph crosses the axes of a Cartesian plane. So that's your job today. You'll be able to sketch linear graphs by using x and y intercepts. So our key ideas. One way of sketching a linear graph is just to use the 2 points where that graph crosses the axes. So that's called the x in, that's called the y-intercept, and then we just draw a line straight through them. So you can identify the 2 points on a plot, the x and y-intercept, so a straight line can be ruled through them. Now the x-intercept can be found by substituting y equals 0. So remember in our x and y coordinates, if y equals 0, it's got to be crossing the x-axis at that space. And vice versa, the y-intercept can be found by substituting x equals 0 into the rule and solving for y. So let's just write down what we know. We know that y equals mx plus b. We've said so far that this is a gradient and this is the y-intercept. So let's have a look at this one. We're going to find the x and y intercept for x plus 5y equals 10. You can see first of all that we've just written this form of the linear equation a little bit differently. What have we said? We've normally said that y equals mx plus b, but this time we've just got an x and y on the left hand side of the equal sign. So let's have a look at this. So write the rule x plus 5y, so x plus 5y equals 10. Now we're going to find the x-intercept by substituting y equals 0. So let's find the x-intercept. When y equals 0, so we're just going to go x plus 5 times 0, which cancels out to be nothing, equals 10. So our x equals 10. Now let's find the coordinates. So what do we say? When y equals 0, x equals 10. We're going to write them as x, y coordinates, aren't we? So let's go 10, 0. Now let's find the y-intercept when x equals 0. So y-intercept, and instead of saying x, we're going to say 0 plus 5y equals 10. Now I'm going to need a little bit of algebra, aren't we? So let's have a look what we've got to do. We say that 5y equals 10. Therefore, we're going to do an equivalent equation, y equals 10 over 5, so y equals 2. Now let's write our coordinates in. So we know the y coordinate was 2 and we said that the x was 0 at this time. So let's do this now. So we've got x and y, so 10 on the x-axis and then 0 on the y-axis, so that's our first point. And then our second point is 0 on the y-axis and 2 on the x-axis. Oh, sorry, 0 on the x-axis and 2 on the y-axis. So there. Now we'll just get our line and draw that in. And yeah, that's doing it. There we go. And then we just write our function on the line. In this case we said x plus 5y equals 10. Let's have a look at another couple. Just space this out a little bit so it's easy to work. Oh, what did I do there? Let's go and enter down here and see what happens. Okay, we want to sketch another graph, so I'll copy that. I'm having a lot of fun today by the looks. And we've got a bit of space here to play with now. So sketch a graph of 4x, take y equals 8. So, what do we say? 4x, take y equals 8. And what do we want to do? We want to substitute in 0 for the x and the y values to find the others. So let's find the x-intercept when y equals 0. So 4x take 0 equals 8. So 4x equals 8. So 4x over 4, 8 over 4. So x equals 8 over 4, which equals 2. Now, we now know that x equals 2 when y equals 0. So that's our x-intercept, isn't it? We know when it crosses that line, it's going to equal 2. What do we need to now know? The y-intercept. So in this case, we've got 4, and instead of saying x, we're going to say 0. Take, and what was our original equation? 4x take y equals 8. So 4 times 0 is 0, negative y equals 8. That's an interesting one. So what we do with this is we just divide both sides by negative 1. And so we can just say, well, oh yeah, we'll do that. And therefore y equals negative 8. So what do we know now? When x equals 0, y equals negative 8. So let's plot these 2 points on our line. So we'll read the first set of coordinates first. And so when x equals 2, y equals 0. And then when x equals 0, y equals negative 8. So we've got our 2 points, and then we just connect the dots. Not doing it very nicely for me. And then we don't know if that line starts or finishes there. I've just said it's a line segment here. All we need to do now is to write our function on the line. So 4x take y equals 8. Okay, let's have a look at the last one. Let's find the x and the y intercept for when y equals 3x plus 12. So we've just got a slightly different form of the rule. This is what we were working with yesterday, don't we? So this is the form that y equals mx plus c. So y equals mx plus c. We know that the m equals a gradient and that the b equals the y-intercept. So let's find the x-intercept when 0. So x-intercept when y equals 0. So we said 0 equals mx, and I think we know something else, don't we? We're going to use this rule here. So 3x plus 12. So what we need to do now is just solve for the unknown. So let's take 12 off both sides. So 12 equals 3x, and then divide both sides by 3. So negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Negative 3x divided by 3 is just x. So we say that x equals negative 4. So let's write our coordinates. So when x equals negative 4, y is 0. So that's our first set of points. Now let's put in a y-intercept. And so this is, now we're going to say what? Y-intercept, y equals 3 times 0. So we're going to make the x value equal 0 plus 12. Well, 3 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 12 is 12. So y equals 12. Now, we can also just sketch that on the line, so we may as well do that as well. So when x equals 0, y equals 12, but I don't think we've got enough lines on this one, so we'll just dodge it up a little bit, I suppose. So where do we go? So -4 x value and 0, that's good, and then a positive 12. So if that's 11, that's 12. That's just eyeballing it. It'd look a bit like that. So I should have got a graph that had more values on it, but it's doing the job at the moment. And we're just going to write in our relationship y equals 3x plus 12. So y equals 3x plus 12. Now, I should show you about the math function in your OneNote. So let's see if we can get this here. So write your equation in ink or type it using the keyboard, and then select the equation and tap the math button. We can solve for x and we can graph it as well. So I just want to see if this will work. So y equals 3x plus 12. So doing a bit of maths. Oh, be nice. What if I go like that and do maths? Y equals, I need to fix this. How do I do that? Not nicely at all. Let's see if I can do it with 3x plus 12, and then we'll do the math button. We select an action, we can solve for x, show steps. So this will show you the steps here in solving for x. We can get it to solve for y as well. So show steps. Oh yeah, it's in its standard form. And then we can also get it to graph. And it generates a graph for you too, which is the same as what we did before up here. Windows Shift Q. Oh, actually, first, please work on the mastery exercises, year 9. And